was your group able to accomplish what it needed?
It usually just ends in planning another meeting.
Yeah.
I was in a group, and I'll use this as an example, that was responsible for evaluating software for e-reserves. And I realized about 2 meetings into it that we did not have an IT person on the group. And that was a huge problem because we didn't know if the software we were even considering was going to work with the equipment and software that we already had. So the group was not effective at all until we were able to get that IT person to join us. And it took a while to actually even get it approved to ask the IT person to join us. So yeah, that's important to think about beforehand to make sure you have all those key participants there. How do you decide who the key participants are going to be? I mean,
You assess your goals and then see what kind of information you may need from certain people, and that information can delineate who you need to talk to.
perfect. Basically, you're going to look at what the goals and the purpose of the group are, because it's going to depend and it will vary from group to group and what information or support you need in order to meet the goals of the group. So that was dead on. And there might be times too where you need to call a meeting to gather information, but you're not entirely clear on the purpose or who those participants might need to be. And if that occurs, it's okay to consult with other people and to get some input about who others think might be good people to include. And that might mean talking to a leader that's kind of over the area where you need the information or the support, or it might be talking to a colleague. But just kind of do some networking and find out who would be the best person. Okay. Are there any questions about participants? I'm going to go through this very quick. Okay, agenda and logistics. Now we're starting to get into like the real meat of it. Basically, with the agenda, you're going to look at the purpose that you have already decided on. You're going to set your goals, and as Sherry mentioned at the beginning, you're going to determine if there are activities that need to occur before that meeting to make it more effective. There's nothing like getting in a meeting and then finding out that you need information or something that could have been done beforehand to make it progress a little better. So that's the first thing you're going to do. You're also going to, once you have that group set, you've identified your key participants, you need to send that information to them before the meeting and to let them know, this is what I think we need to address. Do you agree? Do you see anything that needs to be added? Is there something that I'm overlooking? Because there may be things, if you're not the expert in the area, that you're not considering that someone else might. So it's good to kind of get some feedback before you actually set the agenda and call everyone together. The other thing, you will need to estimate the time for each topic so that you can then set a start and end time for the meeting. Because as Jason was saying at the beginning, he felt that efficient meetings were ones that stayed on track and ran on time, because that's respectful of people's time. It lets them know that you appreciate and value their input and their time that they're putting into this meeting for you. So you'll want to estimate a time frame for each topic as you go about setting that. Once you have all that in place and you've got your feedback, there's the logistics, which can be one of the most challenging parts at times. That involves, setting your date, time, and your location, notifying the participants to make sure they're aware of when they need to be there and show up. And also assigning roles. If you're planning a meeting and you need Sherry to bring budget information and you need Jason to bring IT information, and you want Julian to be the timekeeper to make sure everyone's staying on track, then you want to make sure that you've touched base with those people beforehand so that they know that that is expected of them before they show up and they can come prepared to do that. So, any questions or ideas that you guys have about planning agendas or logistics.
Would you say, when you assign, your roles, would you say that that's more of a preparation when you send out general info, or would you say that would come after you set the time? Do you know what I mean?
It would all kind of come together, because you're going to need to find out what the topics are to be covered and make sure that everyone agrees that yes, that's what we need to address in order to be productive in this group. And then once you have your topics set, then you can look, and you've kind of already thought about your activities and the goals of the meeting at this point. Once you have confirmed that the other group of participants feel that that's the agenda, that's when you can contact and say, we need this information, would you be willing to provide that? Or we need someone to play this role, would you be willing to do that? That way you're sure you have everything ironed out before you start asking people for, for favors. Okay, and then once you get the technicalities out of the way, you're ready to implement. This is where it can get really tricky. Meetings go crazy, right? Okay, so let me ask this question, this is always a fun one. Who's ever been in a meeting that either strayed off topic or went way over time on a topic? You provided an example maybe of like our last meeting, what, it was just you, me, and David.
2 times a day.
And it was like, David started talking about BWI, which is the company he used to work for. And it was funny, we kept going on about people. I mean, we had kind of covered most of our topics. We were pretty much wrapping the meeting up. I think we had like one thing left. But it was so funny, we started talking about one person, and then that delved into another person, and then another person, and it was just, it was fun. I mean, we really had a good time because we did learn some other things about, backgrounds in each other and everything. But then, it went real.
So how did the leader or whoever redirect or bring it
I
back
listened
in?
for a while. But yeah, like I said, we were close to the end. But I think we did, we just said, okay, let's, go on to the next one or that type of thing. But we only, in fact, it was a meeting, we didn't have very many people there. It was just the 3 of us. We normally have a bigger group than that. So it's a little less informal than we normally, would have. But somebody back would just say, maybe go on to the next topic on the agenda or ask a specific question that might bring our attention back to what we were talking about originally.
Right. So basically you just kind of refocused it by asking a question that brought it back to the original topic. What other techniques have you guys used to kind of refocus groups?
Well, sometimes if I have that situation where there's just a talkative person, I'll say, we can discuss this after the meeting, or I'll say this, something like, I guess a little nicer than that too, but just kind of say, okay, let's come back here.
This is a good topic to research for.
Right. And that's actually one of my favorite approaches. When it goes completely off topic and has nothing to do with anything, is to basically, suggest that that's definitely a concern or that's an idea. Maybe that's something we should consider for another agenda or whatever. But meanwhile, what do you think about this issue? So you might acknowledge their interest in whatever it is they're talking about, but redirect, to keep it on track. Well, as far as the implementation and running the efficient meeting, the first thing you will want to do is start on time. You're going to want to welcome participants and establish those ground rules, just like I did at the beginning of this one. And then go over the agenda and the roles to make sure everyone's clear on that and that they know what's expected, and then ask if there's any questions or if there are any revisions that are needed. That way it allows you to actually do a check before you get started so that everyone's clear on why they're there, and people don't jump in with, hopefully it will discourage people jumping in with new topics while you're trying to address the goals that you've set for the meeting. The next thing you'll want to